chain which streams the data into Excel. So the live data must come into the Excel sheet of whichever FNO symbol that we use and all the strike prices of that particular expiry. And this we are going to achieve using Zerodha KiteConnect API. So let us start the programming. Now remember that you are editing an Excel sheet which is already open. So the normal Excel writer and all those APIs or OpenPY Excel, they won't work whenever the Excel sheet is open. Only when the Excel sheet is closed, you can either write or read from it. But when it is already open, you cannot do it using OpenPY Excel or XLX writer. So we'll use a different module called as Xlwings. So it uses the Windows COM object and that resource will be shared amongst other programs which are trying to access it. So first of all, from KiteConnect, import all the required objects like the KiteConnect and the Kite ticker. Because we are using Zerodha, so we'll have to import their modules, and I have already installed them, and maybe you already know how to install these modules. Then we want pandas definitely because there are many calculations involved here. So import pandas as PD, and we also need the datetime module. We also need Xlwings, and if required, any other module is if it is required, we'll be importing it later on whenever it is required. Now we also need threadings in this. What are threads? You can give individual task to each thread and it will work as if they are running in parallel. So for example, you have to loop over a list. There are around 1000 elements inside your list and you have to loop over it and then you have to pass it to a function. Now when you use the traditional for loop to loop over those 1000 items and then pass the in each item to a function, it is going to take a lot of time. Instead of that, if you create a thread pool of how many ever elements are there inside that list, those many threads you will be creating and pick up each element from that list, give that element to each of the thread. So the function call with all of those elements inside the list, it happens at a time, not one after the other. So if you use for loop, each element will be accessed one after the other. Whereas here at a time, the thread will be accessing the function. So each individual thread has got a different element now. So that element will be passed on to the thread. So in order to utilize the threads in Python, we'll be using multiprocessing.dummy. From this, we'll be importing the thread pool. And I have a different module where I'm calculating the option Greeks because implied volatility, I want to calculate the implied volatility also. So I have a different Python file with the name option underscore Greeks that has the calculation of all the 5 option Greeks like delta, theta, gamma, vega, and rho, as well as the implied volatility. For today's video, I'll be using only the implied volatility and all the calculation part is there within this file. So I'm not going to go in much detail about these option Greeks because that will take another 1 or 2 hours to explain. So the video will be extended and I don't want that to happen. Then read my API key, the Zerodha API key. It is already there inside my hard disk in a text file. So I'll open that. the text file name, I'm giving it here, and I'm telling it to open it in the reading mode. So that text will now be there inside this. You can even achieve these things by using the local DB. If you are familiar with how to use the local DB, you can even use those things. Then I'll need the API secret. These all things you'll be getting when you sign up for KiteConnect. And then create a KiteConnect object. So API key is already there with us. With the help of that, we are creating a KiteConnect object. The next important thing is the access token. So access token is valid for 24 hours. We all know that. So I have already created an access token in the morning itself, and I have stored it inside a text file. Just open it in the reading mode and then read it. Now we know that when we are using Zerodha, it actually gives you a login URL. And that login URL, you'll have to click it, and then you have to go to your Chrome browser, enter your user ID, password, the PIN, then only you will be getting the token. That token you have to paste within the session and then generate a session that is going to give you the access token. So what I did is I have automated the whole process, and that is there with me as a bat file. So when I double click this bat file, the access token will automatically be generated for me. Let me show you that. I have double clicked that. So the whole login process on generating the access token, I have automated that process. So it will tell me, it will give me the URL, it will give me the final message that the access token is generated. Then I can close this. We shall wait for the final message that the access token is generated. So this is the URL, and the session ID is also generated over here, and the access token is also generated. When that access token is generated, I have a text file within this folder, and from that folder, from the text file, the access token will now be read, and it is going to be used for this program. So set the access token. That's it. The next thing is getting the list of strike prices, list of instruments, and list of expiries that we have, and Zerodha provides that. So instruments will store it inside a data frame because Zerodha itself gives us. So we'll convert that into a data frame. So make a request, kite dot instruments, and here the exchange will be NFO. If you give NSE, the cash market data will be given to you, and if you give NFO, the futures and options, the derivatives market file will be given. What things does that file have? Let us see that. So this is the normal cash market, and this one is the FNO CSV. I have already downloaded it. So this is how it is going to look. And we all know that Zerodha does not accept the symbol name. It actually accepts the instrument token. So in order to get these list of instrument tokens, because even if you consider only Nifty, it has several strike prices, it has several expiries and the varieties like call option and the put option. So all those, they can be differentiated by these instrument tokens. So you need to have all those instrument tokens. That's the reason we are downloading it from Zerodha and we are converting it into a data frame. Now from this data frame, so here you have futures data as well as the options data. So let's say if it were only Excel and if I want to filter out only the options data and that too only of Nifty. So what will I do? I'll go to data, select all the columns first, go to data, then under the filter, go to segment and click. You have to uncheck this. Only this NFO-OPT should be checked. So now the data that you have will be only of options, and that too the expiry, I have a specific expiry in mind. So I'll go to 2021, then August and the monthly expiry. And coming to the symbol, I need only Nifty. Rest of all things I have to uncheck. So now the data that I have with me, it is of 26th August 2021 expiry, only Nifty and all the call and put options of all the strike prices. So I have around roughly 160 symbols with me, call and put included. So we are going to work out only on these strike prices in the current program. So in order to filter like that in data frames, following is the things that we have to do. So we'll assign a temporary data frame in which we will choose the segment as NFO OPT. So instrument DF, we are now going to filter. This should match with NFO hyphen OPT. So now whatever the items you have, those will be of only futures and options. That was the first step. And from this, I want to extract the expiry date. So the expiry date will be this one, 26 August 2021. I don't want to write it as a static one, because going forward, if I just repeat the program, the execution once again, I don't want to change it manually here, the expiry date. So I will pick it up from the data frame itself. So temporary DF, from this, go to the expiry column and whichever is there at the 0th location, that will be my deferred expiry. And then going forward, whatever tasks you want to perform on this data frame, you have to first make a copy of it. So if you don't make a copy of it, it will give you number of warnings saying that you are making changes on a copied one. So just copy it to the same one. Otherwise, there will be many number of warnings. Now filter the expiry, that temporary DF which you already have. The expiry, it should be equal to the expiry. So this expiry, it contains the expiry date, my preferred expiry date. So now it is going to filter all those instruments belonging to the expiry which I have chosen. The next thing is to convert the strike column. Now all the things that you have here, they are all strings. And the strike prices, when I want to calculate the option Greeks, it is mandatory that I have to convert those strings into floating values. So I will convert the strike column into a floating point. So first tell what is the data type available now, and then tell to which data type you want to convert it into. So it is now a floating point. And all the underlying symbols, you can take a copy of them, because here in this program we are fixing it to only Nifty, but you may want to create an option chain of all the symbols that are there in FNO segment. So take a copy of those symbols into a list. So in the name column, so this is the name column, and here you have all the underlying symbols. So just convert that column into a list. Now extract the call option tokens and the put option tokens separately, and the instrument is going to be only Nifty. So this we are going to hard code to Nifty only, and later on whenever you want for all the symbols, you have the list here. You can create threads, and to each thread you can pass one symbol. So CE tokens, you can extract it. Again, we are just going to filter it out. First, the symbol is going to be Nifty. The underlying symbol, it is going to be Nifty. And what is the second filter that we have? So brackets are very, very important. Otherwise, there will be ambiguity. The second filter is going to be the instrument type. So the instrument type, it should be CE as well as PE. So first, since we are extracting the CE tokens, here we are going to write only the instrument type as call option. So temp df, the instrument underscore type. This should be equal to call option. Now after filtering this data, what do you want to extract? This instrument tokens. So tell first filter the data. After filtering, convert the list of instrument tokens available into a list. So give the column name and then convert it into a list. When you say dot instrument token, not tokens, it is token, and to list, it is going to convert. This is very simple actually. From the instrument type also, you are just selecting PE. Now whatever instrument tokens are available with you, these are nothing but the call option instrument tokens. That's it. So these things we are going to work on. Next, for the put option also do the same. This is going to be PE tokens this time, and the instrument type should be PE. And for a safer side, take all tokens also with you. You want to work with the PE and CE at a time. So for that, you just have to remove the second filter, and only the first filter is enough. Then the strike prices, all strike prices that are there. So all strikes is equal to, now again the filter is going to be Nifty only. Copy this, and here instead of instrument token column, I want the strike column, because the strike column is going to contain the strike prices. So that I wanted to give it to me as a list. And then only those strike prices which are pertaining to Nifty. So earlier which I have requested, this is going to contain put option and call option. So that's going to be a duplicate strikes. So each strike will be repeated 2 times. So instead of that, I'll maintain one set of strike prices, because strike prices are going to be same for both call and put. The all strike is going to contain duplicate ones. So the same thing, and here we'll create a filter, either CE or PE. That's it. So this is going to give you the strike prices now. Then you can even extract the lot size, because if you want it to match with, yeah, so the data that is returned from Zerodha, the open interest, it is actually multiplied, OI multiplied by the lot size. This is how Zerodha gives you. Whereas if you open NSE option chain, it will only give you the actual OI. It is not going to multiply it with the lot size. So if at all you want to divide the resultant OI that you get from Zerodha by its lot size, you can maintain the lot size also over here. So just extract the lot size and convert it into a list, so that in future if necessary again you need not repeat all these steps, so you are performing these steps once for all. Then the tokens which you have, they are in string format. As I told you, whichever thing you get it from the Excel, they'll be in string format. Now we want to convert each of them into integer format. So int of I for each token that is there inside the CE token list. Similarly, CE token, convert each of them into integer. Because when we pass the tokens to Zerodha, if you pass it in string format, it is not going to take. So before passing itself, you have to make the necessary conversions. So from string, we are converting it into a integer. And similarly, all the tokens that you have. That also you can convert it into integer format. Finally, connect to Zerodha. So here you will be giving the API key and the access token. Now we want to write data to this Excel sheet, option chain dot Excel SX. How are we going to write? Are we going to pick up each OI of each strike price and then write it onto this Excel? No, that will be a hefty task. So what we'll do is we'll prepare a data frame which contains all the option data. In between, there will be strike prices like how it looks on NSE. First, we'll create an empty data frame. The middle row will have the strike price. Left side will have all the call option data. Right side will have the put option data, like how it looks on NSE website. So make a data frame like that, and every time whenever there is a change, you just dump that whole data frame into this Excel sheet. So for that, we'll create an empty data frame, FNO dictionary. So first create a dictionary with key and value and then convert it into a data frame. So this FNO dictionary, the first element that I'll have is call option OI, and the values will be an empty list because I'm going to create an empty data frame over here. Then the implied volatility, then an empty list. Then I'll have the volume, an empty list. Then the LTP of that option. So call option underscore LTP, an empty list. After LTP, we'll have the change in price, the absolute change. Then in between, the middle row is going to be the strike prices. And just a reverse of all these things now. So first PE change will come. So PE change, then PE LTP, then PE volume, then PE implied volatility, and finally PE open interest. So we are not handling with the change in OI here because I don't have subscription to Zerodha historical data. So even if you don't have Zerodha historical data, what you can do is you can download the previous day's BAB copy into the same folder. You have to write a code for that. Download the previous BAB copy, and from that again pick up the strike prices, pick up the open interest of the previous day. When you get the current OI, just look at the percentage difference or the absolute difference between yesterday's OI of that strike price until today. We all know the formula for that. Just do the current day OI of that particular strike price minus the previous day OI. That will give you the change in OI. So if you are interested, you can either subscribe to the historical data. So the number of lines that you want to code, that will be very less. And if you download the historical BAV copy, so the number of lines that you have to write will be more. So the empty data frame is ready. Now convert that into data frame. Empty dictionary is ready now. We are converting that into data frame. And in this, the implied volatility that I am going to get from my pre-written function, which is the option Greeks, it is going to be in the format of strings and floatings. So as a whole, I want to convert that column into a string itself. So this FNODF which I have, inside that, the CE IV column, just convert it into a string column as type str. Did the same for PIV also. And then the Xlwings. You need a workbook. You need a connection to this Excel sheet. So Xlwings, we have already imported it as XW. Use that now. So the workbook, first establish a connection to the workbook using xw.book, and now give the name of your Excel sheet or the Excel workbook. So option underscore chain dot Excel sx. This is the name of my workbook. From this, point out to the worksheet. So sheet 1 is going to be my worksheet. So wb dot sheets, and give the name of that particular sheet where you want to work. And here what I want to do is the middle column, the strike column which I already have, I want to pre-fill that with the strike prices, because strike price is going to be fixed. All the other data Zerodha is going to give me. So let us fill that strike column. So we'll loop through it for each strike that is already there in the strikes list. You go to FNODF, and at this position dot at means at the position, the x coordinate and the y coordinate you have to give it. So 0th row under the strike column, you fill it with the strike price. Likewise, the first row column will be common inside this for loop. The row is going to change whenever the I changes, and just increment the I every time it comes inside this for loop until the last element that is there inside the strike price. Now maintain the number of rows that are there, because going forward what is going to happen, you'll have the PE data and you'll have the CE data also at a time. The strike price is there in between. So let's say you have got a data of 15,500 strike price. So where will you write it? How will you know? So you need to know at each row what is the strike price that is there. So for example, in the 5th row, what is the strike price? In the 10th row, what is the strike price? So we'll create some rows and we'll append it to the strike prices that we already have. So in going forward, whenever I just query the strike price, I should get the row at which the new data should be written. So numpy is required for this. So np dot range from 0 until the length of the strike prices that already I have plus 1. Because if you know about this arrange, it actually omits the last value, but I don't want it to omit. Then the strike list. So the strike list is nothing but I'm now combining all the tokens that I already have with all the strike prices. What is the need for this? I get the data from Zerodha. Inside that data, Zerodha doesn't mention the strike price. It only mentions the token. So in order to know what data I have received, whatever token Zerodha gives me within the data, I'll pass it to this. In return, I'm going to get the strike price. And whenever I get the strike price, I want the row number also now. So row list is equal to, again, a dictionary the strikes and rows. These two things we want now. So what are we doing? We are converting it into a dictionary. The strike list is now a dictionary where the token is going to be the key and the strike is going to be the value. So whenever I pass a token to it as a key, the strike will be returned to me as a value. And here, whenever I pass a strike price to it as a key, the row number is going to given to me as the returned value. Now the underlying price is also required because I want to compute the implied volatility. So one of the argument for that is the underlying price. And this also we are going to hard code. It is not dynamic, it is going to be static. So kite.ltp. Here we'll need to pass the instruments. So NSE colon Nifty space 50. From this, get the Nifty 50. So if you print this kite.ltp, you will get the structure. And from this, I want to get the last price. Just I'm querying the last traded price of Nifty 50, which is the index. That's it. Now I need one function, and each one of my thread is going to call that function. And what things that function is going to achieve? It is going to get the required data from the data that is returned from Zerodha. So we'll pass on the list of tokens to Zerodha, and every second we are going to get the live data from Zerodha. From that live data, I have to extract the open interest, the last traded price of that strike, then the change, then the volume, and the instrument token. These all things. So instead of now, from all the list of elements that I get, instead of using a for loop, we are going to use the threads here. So the open interest is going to be dictionary of get OI. So the each element that I'm going to get, from that I'm extracting the OI, and then the LTP, get the last price. Then the change, DICT dot get the change, and then the volume, DICT dot get the volume, then the instrument token. Now the strike price, because you have the instrument token, where will you write this data, in which row? So for that, we'll pass this instrument token to the strike list. It will give me the strike price. Then again, that strike price will be passed to this row list, that will give me the row number where the data should be written. So first the strike price. So strike is equal to strike list, which we already have. Just pass on the instrument token. And then the row number. So the row number will be row list, and to this the strike is passed. Now this instrument token, we need to compare if it is in the call option instrument token list or put option instrument token list, because we have already maintained two tokens separately. Now just compare whatever instrument token you have got, because you cannot differentiate by just looking at the instrument token if it is a call option data or put option data. So that check also you have to do here. So if the instrument token which I have received from Zerodha, if it is in CE token list, and sometimes empty data might also be returned. So if it is an empty data, I don't want to waste my execution. So only if there is a data from your side, and only if that instrument token is there inside my existing list, then what you do is you fill the data on the CE side, on the call option side. The row number you already have from this, and the column will be common for all of the things. How will it look like? So FNODF at the location. So row number is already there with me, and the column is the open interest column. In this, you fill out the OI that you just got. Then the volume, and it is going to be CE underscore volume. The same row, but the volume column. And then the last traded price of that option, or the option premium. So CE underscore LTP. Then you have the change in the premium, absolute change, E underscore CHG. Now comes the implied volatility. So for this implied volatility, I already have a function called get Greeks, which I have already written. And to this get Greeks, I'm going to pass the underlying price, the strike price is there inside the strike itself. Then the expiry date we have already used. Then the type of option, which is call option, the option premium, and the date on which I'm calculating this. Because for implied volatility, one of the input that we have to give is the number of days that are there for expiry. From today until the expiry date, how many number of days are there? So for that, I'll have to pass the expiry date and today's date so that the number of days it will automatically calculate and pass some dummy volatility. This does not have any meaning, but inside that function, it needs one more argument. So we are passing it now. And when you have all this data and when you get the implied volatility from that, in that CE underscore IV, you fill out the details. This is the case if the instrument token is there inside the call option one. What if it is there inside the put? You'll have to use this else if method. If it is there inside the PE tokens, you have to write it in the PE column. That's it. Now the whole data frame is ready with you. And the data that you get from there, it is in the float format. So just convert it into a string format. Because earlier also the implied volatility column, you are using it as a string only because that's a mix of data. If the IV is there, it is returned as a floating number. If the IV is not there, then it is returned as a empty string. So converting an empty string into a float will be a tedious task. So what we'll do is we'll make the column itself as a string, and then whatever values we get, we'll use it as a string only, because empty string cannot be converted into a floating point. It is not that easy. Now the live data that we get from Zerodha. So on ticks means whenever we have a tick, that will be stored inside this ticks object. So find out the length of the ticks and create a thread pool. How many number of threads you want? How many ever elements are there inside the ticks? Because how many elements are going to be there? It is equal to the number of strike prices you are requesting for. For all the call and put options, you are passing on the number of strike prices that are there with you, and whichever strike price has a change in data, all those things are going to be returned inside this ticks as a dictionary of dictionaries. So find out how many elements are there within that and create those many number of threads and map the stream function, whichever I have here, to each of the ticks. So those many number of threads are created, and to each thread only one element will be passed. Means only one strike price will be given to each stream. And how many ever threads are created, those many threads are going to access this function at a time now. And once you get the values, access the Excel sheet which is there inside this worksheet, go to the range A1, and that value will be equal to the data frame that you have. And after all the works are done, close the thread pool, and you have to wait until all the threads are returned. So you have to use this pool dot join. Then on connect, whenever a connection is established, you have to subscribe to the data. We didn't do that till now. We didn't pass on the list of instrument tokens zero the till now. So we are doing it here. So ws dot subscribe tokens. In what mode? In full length mode. This is the highest possible. The L2 depth. The other depths are, say the other modes are quote and LTP mode. In both of them, we don't get the OI. So we are going to use ws dot mode underscore full. So OI as well as the best 5 bid prices, best 5 sell prices, all those things are going to be given to you. And assign it kws dot on ticks, assign the function. Then kws dot on connect, assign the function and start the connection with the API. That's it. So now when you run the program, what happens? First, it will establish a connection with Zerodha. In order to establish the connection, you need to have the access token, API, and all those things. And by just double clicking the BAT file, I have generated an access token, which is there inside a text file. So the API key, secret key, and access token, they are already available. Connection is already established. Now I'm connecting to their API. After connecting, I'm subscribing to a list of tokens. What are these list of tokens? Which are there inside the all tokens. And what are these all tokens? The data frame which we already have. Inside that, we are filtering only Nifty and whatever instrument tokens are there inside the list that we are accessing. And what is this temporary data frame? It is nothing but the original data that you have already downloaded, the list of instruments that are there. You have downloaded it from Zerodha. Then you have chosen the expiry date, and then you have chosen the symbol as Nifty. That is your temporary data frame. And finally, you're also downloading you're also filtering the instrument tokens. Those instrument tokens you are passing it to Zerodha. Now it will connect to their API. It will take the list of tokens, and each second whenever the data is updated on the exchange, exchange is going to send it to Zerodha. Zerodha is going to send it to me inside this on ticks. So whenever, even if all the tokens are not receiving the data, only one token is receiving, I will still get a call inside this define on ticks. Receiving in the sense the transaction happening at the strike price. So threads will be created, those many number of threads will be created. Each thread is going to contain only one strike price of one option at a time, and the data will be extracted. It is going to be populated in the data frame. If it is a call option, on the left side of the data frame, the data is going to be populated. If it is a put option, on the right hand side, the data is going to be populated. And after the whole data frame is populated, we are accessing the Excel sheet called as option underscore chain dot Excel SX, and we are just dumping the whole data frame into A1. A1 means the first cell that you have. So in the first row, the names of the columns will be there, and going forward, all the strike prices and their data will be there. So let us connect. Now, for the first time when I run this, it is going to be a bit slow. The reason, we are downloading an instrument file from Zerodha, and that instrument file is going to be very huge. So if it is a cash market data, the size of the file will be less. But since this is going to be derivative data, FNO data, the size of the file is going to be heavy. So only for the first time when I run this, it will be little bit slow, but once I start getting the data, there won't be any delay at all. Every second you'll see that the Excel sheet is getting updated. So close all those things which are not necessary and run the program. So option chain, just go to run and choose this option chain. Until the instruments are loaded, downloaded, and then loaded into your program, there will be a slight delay. But after that, you will see that there won't be any delay. Every second, you are going to get the data. So we'll keep this Excel open, or else just minimize this so that if there is any error, it will populate here. If the data is there, it will directly write it to the Excel sheet. The segment is not there. segment. The spelling is wrong. That's the error. So let us rerun the program again. Okay, so here the brackets should not be given. Otherwise, it will ask for the arguments also. The live data is being now streamed along with all the strike prices. So in between, so in the middle row, you have the strike prices, and starting from call option OI to the put option OI. So if you go to the at the money contracts, you will clearly observe the changes. Here it is. Just concentrate on this value. You'll see that it is being changed every second whenever there is a data. So implied volatilities, the open interest, everything is now being changed. And you can do this setting, like if you want whichever cell has the highest value, because under the put option strike price, if there is a highest OI, we consider it as a support level in the cash market. Whereas under the call option, if any strike price is having the highest OI, we consider that as a resistance. So here it is saying that this is having the highest OI. The 17,000 call option is having the highest OI. You can just select all the columns, go to the home, conditional formatting, and click on this data bars. It is just nothing but the gradient filling. So low to high, whichever value has the low, the histogram will be less in width. Whichever value is high in that column, the histogram will be more wider. So that's it. With this, you can make more changes, like you can repeat the same steps for all the stocks that are there with you. And for each symbol, you can create a separate sheet, and that option chain will be streaming into that. You can keep a master sheet where you will get the list of those symbols if the price is approaching in real time towards that highest OI level of the call option or put option, because they are going to act as support and resistance. So if that happens, you can short or you can go long in the cash market for the intraday. Those things also you can do it. And along with this implied volatility, you can even calculate the option Greeks. So that get Greeks method, which I already have, that has the, yeah, this get Greeks method, this has the option Greeks also. It can calculate the option Greeks also, and it can populate into this Excel sheet. So that's it for this video. And if you want any explanation on this, or if you are stuck anywhere, you can contact me on my WhatsApp number 9491881119. And my name is Shashank, and we are from Trading Campus.